So, what are the pros and cons of being a network engineer? Being a network engineer is a very interesting position to have because you work with a lot of teams, you work with a lot of sort of technologies, but there's definitely cons to it and there's definitely pros to it. So, I'm the type of guy that likes to start off with just going out for the con, just taking the things that I don't like about it, and then we'll go on to the good stuff with the pros. So, the first things first is some of the cons. All right, so con number one. So the first con is going to be the amount of night work that's actually involved. If you guys don't know, being a network engineer, you're doing a decent amount of night work because being a network engineer or even network admin or network systems, they're all kind of like in the same kind of neighborhood. But the thing is, you're going to be doing a lot of maintenance window work, which is called night work essentially. So that involves you maybe getting up at night, like midnight hours of the night, or even 1 a.m., and configuring stuff because you guys are in operations, right? And let's say you're a hospital or a school, during those hours, there's less connectivity, right? But like during the daytime, if anything goes wrong, because you're making changes on the network, sometimes you're going to be making changes that are intentionally causing impact on the network. For example, let's say you're adding more bandwidth to a current router, and it's going to affect a certain hub or a certain like let's just say a school, right? And you don't want to make those changes on the exact day of the day. It's always best to make those changes at night because obviously no one's at school at night, right? Or presumably, right? But during the daytime, if there's an outage, it's a big deal, right? You're losing, the customers are going to be angry, the school's going to be angry, students are not going to be able to get in. But if it happens at night and no one's around, no big deal, right? So that's why being a network engineer, that's a big thing that's involved is the night work. Some, like I said, it depends on your company. Some companies may have rotations, may have like a night team that can do that work for you, or maybe the work is not as difficult, so you may be able to do that during the daytime where it's not impacting. But if it is impacting most of the time, it's going to be during the night hours, and you see yourself working maybe 2 3 hours at night. So you could see yourself working the day, and then maybe come back at night, work from home, or go to the office, and then like do your implementation work or troubleshooting work or whatever, and then do it at nighttime, and then write the documentation for it, and then go to sleep. So it's kind of a you might have like a bit of a wonky schedule as an engineer, and it's definitely something that you probably have to get used to. But like I said, it's different for every team. Some teams are different. Some teams there may be a whole night team that can do that work for you. Sometimes you'll be the one that's doing it yourself. So it really just depends. So that's con number one. All right, so for con number two is the level of stress that you're always going to have. So whenever you're working on the network, you can always there's always a risk of causing what is called an impact or an outage, right? Because being a network engineer or network operator, whatever, there's always a risk of causing an outage or causing a mistake or accidentally doing something, and that's always in the back of your mind, and that's good to have, but it's something that you just always have to think about, and it's something that I've gotten used to. In the beginning, I was really scared to make any changes, always double checking, making sure I have the right precautions in, like triple double checking, because obviously one little change can cause a significant impact on network, and you don't want to be the person who they come to and say, hey, were you the one that caused that outage? But obviously mistakes can be made, and it's just always best to learn from them. But that level of stress that you have is always going to be there, and sometimes can kind of weigh on you. But as you become a better engineer and you do more work and you build more confidence within yourself, this is going to be less and less of a problem. It's really more of a problem for newer engineers who are kind of new to this, and like whenever they see that that you have a lot of responsibility, and when you first see that, it takes a lot. You have to take a lot of pride in your work, and you have to really double check, triple check, ask for review, ask questions before you really make any changes. The best analogy I can think about it is think of yourself like a surgeon, right? You want to be extremely focused, extremely detail oriented. You don't want to be distracted whenever you're making changes on the network, because one little change can cause a drastic impact. It can lose the company thousands or even millions of dollars. Same as a surgeon, one little impact can take a person's life. So take a lot of pride in your work. Be very diligent, and also make sure that you focus on being as focused as possible. And if you don't know what you're doing, always seek help. Don't try to lone wolf it and try to figure it out on your own, because you can cause a lot of impact. So that's con number two. So going into con number three would be the on-call work. So being an engineer, when things go wrong, you might be on call. And being on call, obviously, in my case, I don't really get on call as often, but there may be cases where you're on call, and that's like a 24/7 on call sometimes, where you're working, and then or you're just at home. It's your day off or relaxing, and then you get a phone call saying there's an outage or something, right? And you're the main person of contact. They're gonna come to you and ask, hey, let's hop on a bridge, let's hop on a call, and let's try to solve this problem. And some of you guys might think, oh, that's a lot of work, but that's just part of the game. Especially when you guys work in operations, it's a really big responsibility because you're you're basically on call. You have to make sure things are on the up and up. And when things go wrong, you'll be the person they'll call. And yeah, but the last one kind of refers to the on call is you're always blamed. So number four is you're literally always blamed as a network engineer or network admin or operations. Like it's almost funny almost. So whenever something goes wrong or whenever there's like a troubleshooting session, they'll always come to you and say, hey, why is this not working? So and it's almost like a customer service role in a sense because even if it's not customers, even if it's like other coworkers, you always have to defend yourself and always bring the evidence. So whenever things are going wrong or whenever they come to me and say, hey, something's wrong with the network, I'll go ahead and check our side, make sure. I always I don't always try to assume maybe they have it wrong. I always double check, maybe our side is incorrect. So you check the basics, you check the IP, you check the ports, you check those kind of basic things to make sure things are on the up and up. Obviously check do the pings, do the troubleshooting, basically do the methods of troubleshooting. I'll make a video on the best method of troubleshooting, which I believe it goes from the OSI model up. But whenever you're blamed, always assume you're wrong. That's the best way of dealing with it, in my opinion. Always assume the network is wrong. So just assume you're guilty till proven innocent. That's the best way of doing it. So I'll go ahead and check our side. If I feel that my side looks good, I'll show my evidence. Say, hey, I've configured my IP. Just the port is down. So maybe can you have someone check the wires? Certain things like that. But it does happen quite often, and it does get annoying at times. But that's just the game that we're in. It just happens, and that's how that's the life of an engineer. Is you're always blamed, and there's so much memes about it. I don't know if you've seen it all over the internet. People talking about how we're always blamed, and everyone comes to us. We're like the first people they kind of come to whenever things are wrong. So that's another thing that's a bit of a con, but that's just how it is. So those are the four cons that network engineers have that I can kind of name out. Obviously, there's more, but those are the main four ones, and most of them kind of might relate to those. So now we're going into the pros. So obviously, you guys love the pros. I always like starting with the cons because the cons kind of, first it kind of weighs you down, but then now you can actually go straight into the pros. So the first pro of being a network engineer, or like any other position that's networking related, is just the career path, right? Being a network engineer is very versatile. It can take you to many different paths, right? You can go into cloud, you can go into cybersecurity, you can go to automation. There's so many different tracks you can get into, or you can stay within networking, be a manager level, director level. Like there's so many opportunities within this field that it outweighs all the cons in my opinion, because obviously it's a fun field to work in, it's a growing field, and there's just a lot of opportunity in the up and up. So whenever you if you guys are deciding what should I do after network engineer, you could stay with it, you could stay being network engineer, or you can jump into any field, because the understanding of networking is such a powerful concept in IT that most people, even in cloud or even like programmers, don't really understand. And you having that understanding and mixing up with some cloud skill or cybersecurity skill is really going to help your career. So that's a major pro that I would say as a network engineer. All right, so for pro number two would be the thrill of it. If you guys haven't worked in a troubleshooting session or actually configured stuff, it's really fun working within networking. It's almost like a puzzle, especially when you guys are troubleshooting. It's like you're working with teams, you're working in a bridge. There's a lot of teamwork involved, and it's very exciting to be in. There's never a day that's actually boring as a network engineer, because either you're learning something new, you're seeing a new activity, or there's like some sort of troubleshooting session that you're trying to solve. Then once that troubleshooting ticket is solved, that's like the best feeling ever, because you went through the muck of it. You struggled so much trying to figure it out, and then once you finally figure out the problem, not only can you like say you resolve the ticket, but you can write it down in your notes and remember it for next time, anytime it happens again. Or even better, you can tell your teammates, so whenever they run into the issue, they can prevent themselves from running into it again. So it's really cool. The thrill of it's really nice, and that's something I really like about it. All right, so for pro number three is that you really become very detail oriented. and your attention to detail is incredible. So when I first got started, I really didn't look at the details of anything. But all of a sudden, once you start becoming a network engineer, the very details of the specificities of everything matters a ton. Like I said, I remember talking about the outage story where you go the difference between the /127 on IPv6 address and /12 is massive, right? And catching that on on a method of procedure is really difficult, right? But having that attention to detail and really eyeing those certain aspects of a configuration is very important because obviously one little mistake can cause a huge outage, and that's something that you guys really have to understand. So my attention to detail has gotten better, and it really helps with all aspects of life. Like you learn more things about the little things, and you see more things, and my memory actually gets a little bit better. It's kind of interesting. So the attention to detail is crazy, and how much you can learn from it. So just to wrap it up, some of the cons that we talked about was the main one would be just the on call work and the overnight work, because obviously the hours are a little bit strange sometimes, and as well as on call, you may get on call sometimes, and they can be stressful at times. But like I said, the stress really comes from the lack of confidence that you don't have, right? Because you haven't done it before. And once you've done it more and more and more, your confidence is stronger and stronger and stronger, and the stress goes lower and lower and lower. So guys, don't worry about that. Like I said, going back to the pros, like there's a lot of job security, there's a lot of growth within the company. You learn more, your attention to detail gets better, your memory gets better. It's just a great field to get into. So those are some of the cons and some of the pros of being an engineer. So you guys can maybe outweigh. If you guys are also network engineers and network admins, or network or work in network operations, feel free to comment below and tell me some of your cons, some of your pros, and what you learn throughout this field. So I want to say thanks everyone for tuning into this channel and watching this video. It really means a lot, like truly really means a lot. And I'm gonna go ahead and create more content, and peace.